Dr. Amanda Clark wiped sweat from her forehead as she carefully lifted another crystal tablet from the ancient ruins. The hot alien sun of Kepler 442b beat down on her back through her environmental suit. She had been working in these Corvani ruins for 3 months now, and each day brought new mysteries about the long-dead civilization. The research vessel, Horizon's Edge, floated in orbit above the planet. Captain Jake Morrison had given her team unlimited time to explore these ruins. The Corvani had vanished over 2 million years ago, leaving behind only their crystal cities, and these strange data tablets. Amanda placed the tablet under her portable scanner. The device hummed as it translated the ancient symbols. She had become quite good at reading Corvani script after months of practice. Most tablets contained boring information about trade routes, weather patterns, or family records. But this one was different. The translation appeared on her screen, and Amanda felt her blood run cold. She read it again, then a third time to make sure she understood correctly. Beware the Blue World's guardians. They protect something far worse than themselves. Amanda's hands shook as she saved the translation. The Blue World could only mean Earth. But what did it mean by guardians? And what could be worse than humans? She activated her communicator. Captain Morrison, this is Dr. Clark. I need to speak with you immediately. Jake's voice crackled through the device. What's wrong, Amanda? You sound upset. I found something. Something about Earth. Can you come down here? On my way. 20 minutes later, Jake arrived at the dig site with Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks, the ship's communications officer. Lisa was good with languages and often helped Amanda with difficult translations. Amanda showed them the tablet and the translation. Jake read it twice before looking up at her. This has to be a mistake, he said. Maybe you translated it wrong. Lisa examined the symbols carefully. No, Captain. The translation is correct. I've seen these symbols before. This definitely says Blue World's guardians and something far worse. Jake rubbed his chin. But it doesn't make sense. Why would an ancient alien civilization write warnings about Earth? Humans weren't even evolved yet when the Corvani lived. Amanda pulled up more files on her tablet. That's what I thought too. But look at this. She showed them 3 other tablets she had translated earlier. These mentioned the prison world and the sleeping danger beneath. I didn't connect them before, but now ... You think they're all talking about Earth? Lisa asked. I'm starting to think so. Jake's communicator beeped. He answered it quickly. Morrison here. Captain, this is Lieutenant Rodriguez on the bridge. We're receiving urgent messages from 3 other archaeological teams. They want to speak with Dr. Clark immediately. Patch them through to Dr. Clark's communicator. Amanda's device lit up with incoming calls. The first was from Dr. Carol Wright, working at the Zeltharian ruins on Proxima Centauri C. Amanda, thank God I reached you. I found something incredible. The Zeltharians left warnings about Earth. They call humans the unknowing guards, and say we protect the great evil that sleeps. Before Amanda could respond, another call came through. Dr. Paul Martinez from the Vorthic Temples on Wolf 359. Dr. Clark, I don't know what to make of this. The Vorthic tablets mention Earth dozens of times. They say humans are chains made flesh, and that we guard the devourers of worlds. A third call interrupted. Dr. Susan Kim from the mysterious structures on Gliese 667. Amanda, the symbols here are different from any I've seen, but they're all about Earth. They call it the prison star, and say its people are born to be wardens. Amanda looked at Jake and Lisa with wide eyes. 4 different archaeological sites. 4 different ancient civilizations. All with the same message about Earth and humanity. This can't be a coincidence. Lisa whispered. Jake activated his own communicator. All teams, return to your ships immediately. We're having an emergency meeting. As they walked back to the shuttle, Amanda's mind raced. 4 ancient civilizations, all extinct for millions of years, all leaving warnings about Earth. What did? They know that humans didn't? Back on the horizon's edge, Jake called an emergency meeting in the main conference room. The other team leaders joined by video link from their ships. Let's start from the beginning, Jake said. Each of you found warnings about Earth in ruins that are millions of years old. Dr. Clark, share what you found first. Amanda displayed her translations on the main screen. The Corvani tablets mention Earth as the Blue World and call humans guardians. They warn that we protect something worse than ourselves. Dr. Wright shared her findings next. The Zeltharian texts are more specific. They describe Earth as a prison and humans as guards who don't know what they're guarding. Dr. Martinez added his discoveries. The Vorthic called whatever is on Earth the devourers of worlds. They seem terrified of it. Dr. Kim's findings were the most disturbing. The Gliese structures contain what looks like a star map. Earth is at the center of a huge circle marked with symbols that mean quarantine zone. Lisa had been quietly working at her station during the presentations. She suddenly looked up with a pale face. Captain, I've been monitoring alien communications like always. I never paid attention to certain encrypted signals before, but now, ... double quotes. She paused. I've been intercepting messages between various alien governments. They mention Earth. What do they say? Jake asked. Lisa played the translated messages. Alien. Voices filled the room. The humans must not know what they guard. Keep them isolated at all costs. If they discover the truth, all is lost. The prison world must remain stable. The room fell silent. Amanda felt sick to her stomach. For her entire life, she had believed that humans were alone in the universe. That first contact was humanity's greatest dream. Now she was learning that aliens had been watching Earth all along, and they were afraid. There's more, Lisa continued. I found records of alien ships avoiding our solar system for centuries. Trade routes that deliberately go around Earth. First contact protocols that specifically forbid approaching human worlds. Jake stood up slowly. Are you telling me that aliens have been hiding from us? That they know something about Earth that we don't? Amanda looked at her translations again. The pieces were starting to fit together, forming a picture that terrified her. Captain, she said quietly, I think we need to go home. We need to find out what's really on Earth, what we're really guarding. Jake nodded grimly. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. As the horizon's edge prepared to leave Kepler 442b, Amanda stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations were watching and waiting. They feared Earth, feared humanity, but not because humans were dangerous. Warriors. They feared what humans were protecting, and humans had no idea what that was. 2 weeks later, Dr. Amanda Clark stood in the marble halls of the Global Archaeological Institute on Earth. Her hands trembled slightly as she prepared to address the most powerful people in human space. The emergency session of the human colonial. Council had been called within hours of her return. Director Paul Harrison sat at the head of the massive conference table. He was a tall man with gray hair who had spent 40 years studying human history. Around the table sat representatives from every human colony, military leaders, and the best scientists Earth had to offer. Dr. Clark, Director Harrison said, your report is quite extraordinary. You claim that multiple alien civilizations left warnings about Earth. Before we begin, I must ask, are you certain these translations are correct? Amanda activated the holographic display in the center of the room. Ancient symbols appeared in the air, followed by their translations. Director, I've triple-checked every symbol. Dr. Wright, Dr. Martinez, and Dr. Kim have all confirmed their findings. 4 different civilizations, 4 different languages, all saying the same thing. Colonel Sarah Martinez from the Colonial Defense Force leaned forward. Dr. Clark, even if these translations are accurate, they could mean anything. Ancient civilizations often wrote myths and legends. That's what I thought too, Amanda replied, until we found this. She changed the display to show the star map from Gliese. 667. Earth appeared as a small blue dot at the center of a massive circle marked with warning symbols. This isn't mythology, Colonel. This is a quarantine map. Earth is marked as a prison, and the quarantine zone extends for hundreds of light years in every direction. Dr. Robert Chun, Earth's chief xenobiologist, studied the map carefully. The implications are staggering. If this is real, it means alien civilizations have been avoiding us for millions of years. President Lisa Adams, Earth's representative, to the Colonial Council, spoke up. Dr. Clark, your report mentions intercepted alien communications. Can you share those with us? Amanda nodded to Lisa Brooks, who had traveled with her from the horizon's edge. Lisa activated another display, showing the translated alien messages. These communications have been going on for decades, Lisa explained. We just never realized what they meant. The aliens have been coordinating to keep us isolated. They reroute trade ships around our space, and they have specific orders never to make contact with humans. The room erupted in whispers. Director Harrison called for quiet. This is impossible, said Governor Tom Wilson from the Alpha Centauri colony. If aliens have been watching us, why haven't we detected them? Lisa pulled up more data. We have, Governor. We just didn't know what we were looking at. Remember all those space anomalies and sensor glitches that happened near the edge of our solar system? They weren't glitches. Amanda changed the display again. There's more. After we returned to Earth, I contacted every archaeological team working on pre-human ruins. In the past 2 weeks, we found the same warnings on 17 different worlds. The number shocked the room into silence. Amanda continued. The Corvani, Zalfarians, Vorthik, and dozens of other species all left the same message. Earth is a prison. Humans are the guards. And whatever we're guarding is worse than anything they could imagine. Dr. Chun raised his hand. Dr. Clark, do any of these ruins give us details about what we're supposedly guarding? Amanda's face grew pale. Yes, the most detailed warnings come from the Corvani archives. They describe something they call the sleepers beneath the blue world. They say these sleepers once devoured entire star systems. She paused and took a deep breath. According to the Corvani, these entities feed on the life force of sentient beings. They consumed dozens of civilizations before the ancient Galactic Alliance managed to trap them beneath Earth's surface. Colonel, Martinez stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. You're telling us that monsters from space are buried under our planet? That humans evolved just to be prison guards? Not evolved, Colonel, Amanda said quietly. Created. The room fell completely silent. Amanda displayed the final set of translations. The Corvani text suggests that humans didn't evolve naturally. We were designed to be the perfect guards. Too violent for the sleepers to control, too protective. To abandon our post, and too ignorant to intentionally release our prisoners. Director Harrison leaned back in his chair. Dr. Clark, what you're suggesting challenges everything we know about human evolution, about our place in the universe. I know how it sounds, Director, but the evidence is overwhelming. President Adams spoke again. Let's assume for a moment that this is all true. Why are the aliens telling us now? Why not keep it secret forever? Lisa Brooks answered this time. Because something is changing. The alien communications have become more frequent and more urgent. In recent months, they're worried about something. She displayed the most recent intercepted messages. The surface dwellers are spreading too far from the source. The prison weakens as they expand. We may need to intervene soon. Commander Ryan Foster from the Deep Space Exploration Command had been quiet throughout the meeting. Now he spoke up. Dr. Clark, I've been running deep space missions for 15 years. My ships have encountered what we call dead zones, areas of space where nothing lives, where planets are completely lifeless. Could these be related to your devourers? Amanda nodded grimly. The Corvani maps show the original territory of the sleepers. It matches your dead zones perfectly. Hundreds of star systems, all completely empty of life. Dr. Chun pulled up Earth's geological surveys on his tablet. If something is buried beneath Earth, our deep core samples should show evidence. They do, Amanda replied. We just didn't know what we were looking at. The deepest core samples show crystalline structures that don't match any known minerals. Structures that seem to pulse with some kind of energy. Governor Wilson from New Terra Colony raised a concern. If expanding into space weakens this prison, should we stop colonizing new worlds? Before Amanda could answer, Lisa Brooks' communicator beeped urgently. She answered it quickly. This is Lieutenant Commander Brooks. Ma'am, this is Communications Central. We're receiving an emergency transmission from the Kepler survey fleet. They've found something. Lisa put the call on the main speakers. Captain Ben Cooper's voice filled the room. Command, this is Captain Cooper of the survey ship Pathfinder. We were investigating the ruins on Kepler 186F when we found something incredible. The entire planet is covered in warning messages. Thousands of them in hundreds of different languages. He paused, and they could hear the tension in his voice. Command, they're all recent. Some of these warnings were left just decades ago. The aliens are still leaving messages about Earth. Amanda felt the room's atmosphere change. The reality of the situation was finally sinking in. Captain Cooper, Director Harrison said, what do these recent messages say? Sir, they're more specific than the old ones. They give coordinates for Earth, descriptions of human appearance, and detailed warnings about what happens if humans discover the truth. Captain Cooper's voice became even more serious. Directors, according to these messages, if humans learn what they're guarding and choose to abandon their post, the things sleeping beneath Earth will wake up. And when they do, they'll consume every living thing in the galaxy. The conference room fell into stunned silence. Amanda looked around at the faces of Earth's leaders. She could see the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on their shoulders. There's one more thing, Captain Cooper added. The most recent message, left just 5 years ago, says the aliens are preparing for the worst-case scenario. If humanity fails as guardians, they plan to destroy Earth completely rather than let the sleepers escape. President Adams stood up slowly. Dr. Clark, how long do we have? Amanda looked at her data one more time. Based on the frequency of the alien messages and the warnings about human expansion, I'd say we have months, maybe a year, before they decide we've spread too far from Earth. Director Harrison addressed the room. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears we face an impossible choice. Remain on Earth as cosmic prison guards, or risk the destruction of all life in the galaxy. Amanda added quietly, or find a third option before the aliens make the choice for us. Ambassador Alaina Rodriguez adjusted her formal diplomatic uniform as she stepped off the shuttle. The Jeffreyan diplomatic station hung in neutral space, far from any star system. It was a massive structure built specifically for meetings between different alien species. Today, for the first time in human history, a human had been invited to attend. The invitation had arrived 3 days after the emergency council meeting on Earth. It was written in perfect English, which immediately told Elena that the aliens had been watching humanity much longer than anyone imagined. Ambassador Rodriguez, the message had said, the time for secrets has ended. Come alone to Station Kepler 7. Bring no weapons, no recording devices, no communication equipment. We will explain everything. Elena walked through the stations, corridors, following the directions she had memorized. The walls were smooth and curved, made from some kind of living metal that seemed to pulse with soft light. She had studied alien architecture for years, but nothing had prepared her for actually being inside an alien structure. A tall, graceful being waited for her at the end of the corridor. It had pale blue skin, large dark eyes, and long fingers that ended in what looked like small crystals. Elena recognized it as a Zephyrian from the diplomatic files. Ambassador Rodriguez, the being said in accented but clear English. I am Kethver, speaker for the Galactic Preservation Council. Thank you for coming. Elena nodded respectfully. Thank you for inviting me. Though I admit, I'm not sure why you chose to reveal yourselves now. Kethver gestured for her to follow. Because the situation has become critical. Your people are asking questions we hoped they would never ask. They entered a large circular room where 11 other beings sat around a curved table. Elena recognized some of the species from ancient human speculation about alien life, but others were completely new to her. All of them were watching her with what seemed like a mixture of fear and respect. Please sit, Kethver said, indicating a chair that had clearly been built for human proportions. Elena sat down, trying to remain calm despite the historical significance of the moment. She was the first human to ever attend a meeting of alien civilizations. Before we begin, said a being that looked like a tall insect with 4 arms, you must understand that everything we tell you today has been kept secret for over 2 million years. The knowledge we share could save or destroy your species. Kethver activated a holographic display in the center of the table. Elena saw a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy, with Earth clearly marked at the center of a vast empty zone. Your archaeologists have discovered our warnings, Kethver said, but they have only found fragments of the truth. We will now tell you everything. The display changed to show Earth as it appeared millions of years ago. The planet looked different, darker, with strange geometric patterns covering its surface. Long ago, your world was not called Earth. We knew it as Zirion, the prison world. It was the last stronghold of an ancient evil that nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy. Elena leaned forward, fascinated despite her fear. A being that resembled a floating jellyfish with tentacles spoke next. The entities your people might call the Devourers were not from this galaxy. They came from the dark spaces between galaxies, drawn by the life force of sentient beings. The display showed horrifying images of empty star systems, dead worlds, and the skeletal remains of massive cities. They consumed everything, continued the jellyfish-like being. Entire civilizations vanished in days. Billions of years of evolution, millions of species, all turned into food for these creatures. Kethver took over the explanation. The Devourers were not just predators. They were intelligent, cunning, and they could influence the minds of lesser beings. They turned species against each other, caused wars, and fed on the chaos. Elena found her voice. How did you stop them? We didn't, said a reptilian being with scales that changed color as it spoke. We could only contain them. It took the combined effort of 47 civilizations and cost the lives of trillions of beings. The display showed a massive battle in space around Earth. Thousands of alien ships fought against dark, shapeless entities that seemed to absorb light itself. The final battle lasted for 300 years, Kethver explained. In the end, we managed to trap the Devourers beneath the surface of Zirion, but the cost was enormous. Most of our civilizations never recovered. Elena stared at the images of the ancient battle. But what does this have to do with humans? The insect-like being answered. The prison required guards. The devourers were too powerful to simply lock away. They needed constant containment, constant suppression. But every species we tried as guards eventually failed. Some guards were corrupted by the devourer's mental influence, added the reptilian being. Others simply left their posts when they grew tired of the duty. A few tried to release the prisoners, thinking they could control them. Kethver continued, so we tried a different approach. Instead of assigning guards, we would create them. We would design a species specifically to be the perfect wardens. Elena's blood ran cold. You created humans? Not created, Kethver corrected. Guided. We found a promising species of early primates on Zarion and carefully influenced there. Evolution over millions of years. The display showed the evolutionary timeline of humanity, but with subtle alien intervention at key points. We enhanced your capacity for violence when necessary, but also your protective instincts, explained. The jellyfish being. We made you territorial, so you would defend your world. We made you curious, so you would explore and discover threats. We made you stubborn, so you would never give up. Elena felt sick. You turned us into living weapons. We turned you into guardians, Kethver said firmly. Every human trait that your species sees as a flaw was designed to make you better protectors. Your aggression keeps the devourers suppressed. Your expansion into space was supposed to be limited, keeping you close to the prison. The reptilian being's scales turned a deep red. But something went wrong. Humans began expanding faster than we anticipated. Your technology advanced too quickly. Your connection to the prison world began to weaken. Elena looked around the table at the alien faces. That's why you've been watching us. That's why you avoid our space. Yes, Kethver confirmed. We have been monitoring the prison's stability for 2 million years. Recently, the containment has begun to fail. The display changed to show seismic readings from deep beneath Earth's oceans. Strange energy signatures pulsed in regular patterns. The devourers are stirring, said the insect being. They grow stronger as humans spread farther from Earth. Your colonies on distant worlds are weakening the very bonds that keep the prison secure. Elena stood up abruptly. Are you telling me the human expansion is going to release these monsters? It already is, Kethver said quietly. Our sensors detect massive movement beneath your world's surface. The devourers are testing their bonds, seeking weakness. The jellyfish being added, we estimate that complete containment failure will occur within 1 of your years, possibly sooner. Elena felt the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on her shoulders. What do you want from us? Kethver's large eyes seemed to show genuine sadness. We want you to choose. Return to Earth and accept your role as eternal guardians, or ... or what? Elena demanded. The reptilian being's scales turned black. Or we will sterilize Earth completely. We will destroy your world, your species, and everything on it, rather than allow the devourers to escape. The room fell silent. Elena could hear her own heartbeat in her ears. How long do we have to decide? She asked. The Galactic Preservation Council will meet again in 30 of your days, Kethver replied. If humanity has not begun withdrawing from distant colonies and returning to Earth by then, we will have no choice but to act. Elena looked at each alien face around the table. And if we accept our role as guardians? What then? Then you will save the galaxy, said the insect being. But your species will be forever bound to Earth. You will never expand beyond your solar system. You will live and die as cosmic prison guards. Kethver stood up. Ambassador Rodriguez, you now carry the greatest burden in human history. The fate of your species and every other species in the galaxy rests on the choice your people make. Elena felt tears forming in her eyes. Why us? Why did it have to be humans? Because Cuthbert said gently. You are the only species in galactic history that has never abandoned a post, never surrendered a fight, and never given up on protecting something you love. You are, quite simply, the best guardians the galaxy has ever known. As Elena prepared to leave the station, she carried with her the most terrible knowledge in human history. Humanity had 30 days to choose between freedom and cosmic responsibility. And if they chose wrong, both humanity and the galaxy would die. Unknown to Elena, hidden in the station's sensor arrays, Captain Van Cooper watched the entire meeting. From his cloaked reconnaissance ship, he had followed the ambassador despite orders, and now he knew the truth that would change everything. The real question was, what would humanity do with 30 days to save the universe? Dr. Carol Hayes stared at the seismic readings on her computer screen for the third time that morning. As Earth's chief seismologist, she had seen every kind of earthquake, volcanic activity, and tectonic shift imaginable. But this was something completely different. The readings came from the deepest ocean trenches, far below the seafloor, where no normal geological activity should exist. The patterns were too regular, too organized to be natural. It looked almost like something massive was moving down there, something that had been still for a very long time. Carol picked up her phone and called her colleague at the Pacific Monitoring Station. Dr. Martinez, are you seeing the same readings I am? Carol, I've been staring at these numbers all night, came the tired voice of Dr. Tony Martinez. The activity started 3 days ago, and it's getting stronger. The epicenter is directly under the Mariana Trench, but it's coming from depths we've never recorded before. Carl pulled up the depth readings. Tony, this is showing movement at 40 kilometers below the ocean floor. That's impossible. Nothing exists that deep. I know. But the equipment isn't malfunctioning. I've checked it 6 times. Carol switched to the frequency analysis. The underground movements weren't random. They pulsed in steady patterns, like a heartbeat. A very slow, very large heartbeat. Tony, I need you to contact all the other monitoring stations. Pacific, Atlantic, Indian Ocean, Arctic. I want to know if this is happening everywhere. While she waited for the reports, Carol examined the timeline of the seismic activity. The movements had begun exactly 3 days after Dr. Amanda Clark's team returned from their archaeological expedition. That couldn't be a coincidence. Her phone rang again. Carol, this is Dr. Kim at the Atlantic Station. We're reading massive movement under the mid-Atlantic ridge. Same depth as your readings. Same frequency patterns. Another call came through immediately. Dr. Hayes, this is Arctic Station. We have identical readings under the Lomonosov Ridge. Carol felt her hands begin to shake. Whatever was moving beneath the ocean floors, it was global. It was everywhere. At once, she called the Global Geological Institute emergency line. This is Dr. Hayes. I need to speak with Director Chun immediately. We have a planetary emergency. 2 hours later, Carol stood in the Institute's main briefing room alongside Dr. Amanda Clark and several government officials. The walls displayed real-time seismic data from monitoring stations around the world. The movement began exactly 72 hours ago, Carol explained, pointing to the synchronized data streams. It's occurring simultaneously at depths of 35 to 45 kilometers below every major ocean floor on Earth. Director Chun studied the patterns. Dr. Hayes, what could cause movements at those depths across the entire planet? Carol hesitated. After reading Dr. Clark's reports about ancient warnings, she had a terrible suspicion. Director, the only thing that could cause synchronized movement at those depths would be something very large that has been dormant for a very long time. Something that's now beginning to wake up. Dr. Clark stepped forward. Carol, show them the frequency analysis. Carol, change the display to show the pulse patterns. The movements aren't chaotic. They're organized, rhythmic. The frequency is increasing gradually, like something slowly returning to consciousness. Captain Jake Morrison, who had returned with Dr. Clark's team, examined the data carefully. Dr. Hayes, could these movements be connected to what we found in the alien ruins? I believe so, Captain. The Corvani texts mentioned sleepers beneath the blue world. If something has been imprisoned under Earth's surface for millions of years, these readings suggest it's starting to stir. Lieutenant Alex Murphy had been monitoring ocean wildlife. Reports from his station at the Marine Biology Institute. He activated his own display. There's more, Alex said. Marine life worldwide is exhibiting unprecedented behavior. Deep-sea creatures that have never been seen near the surface are appearing in shallow waters. They seem to be fleeing from something in the deep ocean. The display showed reports from fishing boats, research vessels, and coastal observers around the world. Creatures from the deepest parts of the ocean were desperately swimming toward shallow water, as if escaping from something terrible below. Even more disturbing, Alex continued, the creatures that have surfaced are different. They're more aggressive, hungrier. Some have physical changes that don't match any known species variations. Dr. Claire Anderson from the Deep Sea Research Division added her findings. Our robotic submersibles have detected strange structures near the ocean floor. Crystalline formations that weren't there 6 months ago. They emit low-frequency sounds that seem to affect marine life. Carol pulled up the acoustic readings. These low-frequency emissions match the seismic pulse patterns exactly. Whatever is moving down, there is also communicating or calling out. Director Chun looked increasingly worried. Dr. Hayes, based on your expertise, what's your assessment of the situation? Carol took a deep breath. Director, I believe something has been dormant beneath Earth's ocean floors for an extremely long time. The seismic activity suggests it's now awakening. The increasing frequency of the pulses indicates this process is accelerating. She paused and looked around the room. If this continues at the current rate, I estimate we have less than 6 months before whatever is down there becomes fully active. Dr. Clark spoke up. Based on the alien warnings, we might have much less time than that. Before anyone could respond, Alex Murphy's emergency communicator started beeping rapidly. He answered it immediately. This is Lieutenant Murphy. Sir, this is Deep Sea Station Omega. We have lost contact with submersible units in the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Ocean trenches. All 3 subs went dark simultaneously about 10 minutes ago. Alex put the call on speaker. Operator, what? Were the subs investigating when they lost contact? Sir, they were examining the new crystalline formations Dr. Anderson mentioned. The last transmission from Pacific Unit 7 reported that the crystals were glowing and the water temperature was rising rapidly. Carl immediately pulled up the seismic data from 10 minutes ago. Everyone look at this. At the exact time the submersibles lost contact, there was a massive spike in seismic activity at all 3 locations. The display showed 3 enormous spikes in the underground movement, far larger than anything they had recorded before. Dr. Anderson turned pale. Those submersibles had crews of 3 people each. 9 researchers are missing. Alex tried to contact the submersibles again, but there was only static. No response from any of the units. Carol noticed something else in the data. The seismic patterns have changed since we lost the submersibles. The pulse frequency has increased significantly. Director Chun stood up. Dr. Hayes, are you suggesting that whatever is beneath the ocean floors responded to the presence of the submersibles? It's possible, Director. The timing is too precise to be coincidental. Doctor. Clark looked at the data with growing alarm. According to the alien warnings, the entities beneath Earth were intelligent. If they're responding to human presence, it means they're not just waking up. They're becoming aware. Alex received another call. Lieutenant Murphy, this is Coastal. Station 7 in California. We have hundreds of deep-sea creatures washing up on beaches along the entire Pacific coast. They appear to be fleeing something. Carol checked the latest seismic readings. The movement patterns are spreading. What started in the deepest trenches is now affecting shallower areas. She turned to face the room. Ladies and gentlemen, based on all available data, I believe we are witnessing the early stages of something emerging from deep beneath Earth's surface. Something that has been dormant for millions of years. Dr. Clark added grimly, and according to the ancient warnings, when these entities fully awaken, they will be very, very hungry. Captain Morrison activated his communicator. This is Captain Morrison to all deep space monitoring stations. I need immediate reports on any changes in alien ship movements near our solar system. The response came quickly. Captain, this is Deep Space Station Alpha. We're detecting massive increases in alien fleet movements. Ships from dozens of different species are gathering at the edge of our solar system. Carol felt the final piece of the puzzle click into place. They know the aliens can detect what's happening beneath Earth. They're positioning themselves for what comes next. Director Chun looked around the room at the faces of Earth's top scientists and military leaders. How long do we have before this situation becomes critical? Carl studied all the data one more time. The pulse frequencies, the seismic activity, the behavior of marine life, and the reports of crystalline structures all pointed to the same conclusion. Based on the rate of increase in all measurable factors, she said quietly, I estimate we have approximately 30 days before whatever is beneath Earth's surface becomes fully active. Dr. Clark looked at her with surprise. 30 days? That's exactly the timeline Ambassador Rodriguez was given by the aliens. The realization hit everyone in the room at the same time. The aliens hadn't chosen the 30-day deadline randomly. They knew exactly how long humanity had before the ancient prison would fail completely. The countdown to humanity's ultimate choice had begun, and something ancient and terrible was stirring beneath their feet. President Kevin Adams stood at the podium in the emergency session hall of the Human Colonial Council. Representatives from every human world had gathered, either in person or through holographic projection. The weight of the most important decision in human history pressed down on everyone in the room. It had been 25 days since Ambassador Elena Rodriguez returned from the alien meeting. 25 days since Captain Ben Cooper revealed he had witnessed the entire conversation from his hidden ship. 25 days since humanity learned the truth about their purpose as cosmic prison guards. Now they had 5 days left to decide the fate of their species and possibly the entire galaxy. Ladies and gentlemen, President Adams began, we have heard all the evidence, all the arguments, and all the proposals. Today, we must choose. Dr. Amanda Clark sat in the front row, surrounded by stacks of ancient alien texts and scientific reports. Beside her, Dr. Carol Hayes monitored real-time seismic data from beneath Earth's oceans. The underground activity had increased dramatically over the past week. Admiral Patricia Stone from the Colonial Defense Force stood to address the council. She was a stern woman with gray hair who had commanded fleets across human space for 30 years. President Adams, members of the council, I have reviewed every military option available to us, Admiral Stone said. Our weapons technology has advanced significantly in recent decades. I believe we can permanently seal whatever lies beneath Earth's surface. She activated a holographic display showing detailed military plans. Operation Deep Strike would involve deploying our most powerful fusion warheads directly into the deepest ocean trenches. We would create controlled explosions that collapse the underground caverns and bury these entities forever. The room buzzed with discussion. Governor Catherine Bell from New Terra Colony raised her hand. Admiral Stone, what are the risks of this plan? There are significant risks, Admiral Stone admitted. The explosions could trigger massive earthquakes and tsunamis. Coastal cities might be destroyed. But the alternative is potentially worse. Dr. George Parker, Earth's chief xenobiologist, stood up from his seat. Admiral, I must object to this plan. According to the alien archives, previous civilizations tried similar approaches. The entities beneath Earth are not simply physical, beings that can be buried. They exist partially in dimensions we don't understand. He gestured to Dr. Clark's translations. The Corvani texts specifically warn that violent attempts to destroy the prisoners only made them stronger. The energy from explosions actually feeds them. Admiral Stone frowned. Dr. Parker, we cannot base military strategy on ancient alien superstitions. They're not superstitions, Dr. Clark interrupted, standing up with a crystal tablet in her hands. I found this 3 days ago in the deepest Corvani archives. It describes what happened when the Zeltharian Empire tried to destroy the entities with their most powerful weapons. She activated her translator and read from the tablet. The fire weapons of the Zeltharians only awakened the hunger. The great devourers consumed the energy and grew stronger. In 7 days, the Zeltharian Empire was no more. The room fell silent. Marcus Davis, Earth's primary representative, spoke up. Dr. Clark, what about the ritual you mentioned? The ritual of eternal vigilance? Dr. Clark nodded and displayed another set of ancient texts. The Corvani archives contain detailed instructions for a ceremony that would consciously bind humanity to Earth as eternal guardians. But it requires a choice from every human alive. What kind of choice? Asked Governor Tom Wilson from Alpha Centauri. Every person on Earth and in the colonies would have to voluntarily accept the role of guardian. The ritual only works if the entire species chooses to take on this burden willingly. President Adams looked troubled. Dr. Clark, what would this ritual actually do? According to the texts, it would strengthen the prison beneath Earth by connecting it to human life force. As long as humans exist and accept their role as guardians, the entities below would remain trapped. Dr. Parker added, but it would also limit human expansion permanently. We would become psychically bound to Earth, traveling too far from our homeworld would weaken both the individual and the prison itself. Governor Bell stood up angrily. So our choice is between destroying Earth or becoming prisoners ourselves. This is unacceptable. There might be a third option, said a quiet voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to see Dr. Amanda Clark's research assistant, Dr. Nicole Turner, standing with a newly translated tablet. Dr. Turner, President Adams said, please, share what you've found. Nicole walked to the front of the room, her hands shaking slightly. I've been working on the most damaged Corvani texts, the ones that were almost impossible to translate. Yesterday, I finally decoded one that mentions something called the Guardian Transformation. She displayed her translation on the main screen. According to this text, there was once a proposal to modify the Guardian species in a way that would strengthen the prison without limiting their expansion. Admiral Stone leaned forward. What kind of modification? The text is unclear about the details, but it suggests that the Guardian species could be enhanced to carry the prison's power with them wherever they go. Instead of being bound to one world, they would become living anchors for the containment field. Dr. Parker studied the translation carefully. Dr. Turner, this sounds like science fiction. How could an entire species be modified in such a way? I don't know, Nicole admitted. The text mentions something called the Nexus Chamber, located somewhere beneath Earth's surface. But that's all I can decipher. Dr. Carol Hayes suddenly looked up from her seismic monitors. Everyone, I'm detecting massive changes in the underground activity. The pulse patterns are becoming much more complex. She put the seismic data on the main display. Instead of the simple rhythmic pulses they had been tracking, The underground movements now showed intricate patterns that looked almost like communication. Signals. It's as if whatever is down there is trying to send messages. Carol explained. Captain Jake Morrison, who had been silent throughout the meeting, stood up. Dr. Hayes, could those patterns be attempts to communicate with the surface? It's possible, Captain. The frequency and complexity suggest intelligence. Dr. Clark examined the patterns and felt her blood run cold. These patterns match symbols from the most ancient Corvani texts, the ones that describe the entity's attempts to influence their guards. President Adams called for order as the room erupted in worried voices. Dr. Clark, are you saying these entities are trying to manipulate us? I'm saying they're aware of our debate. They know we're discussing their fate, and they're trying to influence our decision. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. President Adams, I've been in contact with the alien coalition. Their fleets are now positioned throughout our solar system. They're not just threatening us anymore. They're preparing for immediate action. She activated her communicator and played the most recent alien message. The translated voice filled the room. Humans of Earth, you have 5 days remaining. Our sensors detect increasing instability in the prison world. If you do not choose to return to your posts as guardians, we will initiate planetary sterilization protocols. This is not a threat. This is a promise. Governor Bell slammed her hand on the table. They're forcing us to choose between slavery and extinction. No, said a new voice from the entrance of the chamber. Everyone turned to see Captain Ben Cooper, entering the room with a small device in his hands. Captain Cooper, President Adams said, you were supposed to be monitoring alien fleet movements. I was, Mr. President, but I also found something else. Ben activated the device, and a holographic map of Earth appeared, showing underground structures that no human had ever seen before. While monitoring the alien communications, I detected scanning beams directed at Earth. I tracked them and discovered this. There are massive artificial structures beneath our planet that we never knew existed. The map showed a network of chambers, tunnels, and what looked like technological installations spread throughout Earth's deep interior. According to my analysis, Ben continued, these structures are still partially active. I believe this is the prison system the aliens built millions of years ago. Dr. Turner looked at the map with excitement. Captain Cooper, one of those structures, matches the description of the Nexus Chamber from the Corvani texts. Admiral Stone studied the tactical implications. If we can access these structures, we might be able to understand the prison system well enough to find a fourth option. President Adams looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. Outside, alien fleets waited to destroy Earth if humans made the wrong choice. Below, ancient entities stirred in their prison, growing stronger each day. And throughout human space, millions of people waited to learn whether they would remain free or become eternal guardians. We have 5 days, President Adams said quietly. 5 days to find a solution that saves both humanity and the galaxy. Dr. Clark stood up with determination in her eyes. Then we'd better start exploring those underground structures immediately. Admiral Stone nodded. I'll prepare deep drilling teams. Dr. Amanda Clark stood on the deck of the deep-sea drilling platform Neptune's Reach, watching as the massive drill descended toward the ocean floor. It was humanity's last day before the alien deadline. In 12 hours, the alien fleets would either withdraw or destroy Earth completely. The past 4 days had been the most intense in human history. Teams around the world had worked without sleep to reach the ancient structures that Captain Ben Cooper had discovered beneath Earth's surface. 3 drilling sites operated simultaneously, one in the Pacific, one in the Atlantic, and one in the Indian Ocean. Dr. Clark called Captain Jake Morrison from the control station. We've reached the first chamber. The drill is breaking through now. Amanda rushed to the monitors as cameras descended into the newly opened space. What they saw took her breath away. The chamber was enormous, carved from solid rock, but lined with crystalline structures that pulsed with soft light. Ancient machinery hummed with power that had lasted for millions of years. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Carol Hayes, who stood beside Amanda monitoring seismic activity. "And it's been active this entire time." Commander Ryan Foster led the first team down into the chamber. His voice crackled through the communicator as he explored the ancient space. "Command, this place is incredible. The walls are covered with symbols that match the Corvani texts. There are control panels that still respond to touch. And there's something else. The air down here is breathable." Amanda activated her translator and began working on the symbols that Ryan's cameras were showing. "Ryan, move to the largest control panel. I think I can read some of these instructions." As Ryan approached the central control system, Amanda's translation software worked frantically to decode the ancient alien writing. "These aren't just prison controls," Amanda announced to the surface team. "This is the Nexus chamber from the Corvani texts. It's designed to modify the Guardian species." President Kevin Adams, monitoring from the Emergency Command Center in Washington, spoke through the communicator. "Dr. Clark, what exactly can this system do?" Amanda read more of the translated text. "According to these instructions, the Nexus chamber can bind the prison's containment field to the life force of the Guardian species. But instead of limiting them to one world, it makes every member of the species a living anchor for the prison." Admiral Patricia Stone joined the conversation from her command ship. "Dr. Clark, are you saying this machine can transform all of humanity?" "I think so, Admiral. The text describes a process called the Guardian Awakening. It would change humans at a fundamental level, making us permanent wardens of the cosmic prison. But we would carry that power with us wherever we go." Dr. George Parker, analyzing the data from his laboratory, added his concerns. "Amanda, what are the risks? What would this transformation actually do to human beings?" Amanda continued translating the ancient instructions. "The process would enhance human protective instincts and strengthen our connection to each other. It would also make us immune to the mental influence of the imprisoned entities. But there's more." She paused as she decoded a particularly complex section. "According to this, transformed guardians would gain the ability to sense threats across vast distances. We would become naturally drawn to protect other species and worlds from cosmic dangers." Captain Ben Cooper, monitoring alien fleet movements from orbit, reported through the communication system. "Command, the alien fleets are beginning final positioning. I estimate we have less than 8 hours before they initiate their sterilization protocol. President Adams made the decision that would define humanity's future." "Dr. Clark, can this transformation be reversed?" Amanda studied the text carefully. "The instructions suggest it's permanent. Mr. President, once the Guardian Awakening is complete, humanity would be forever changed. But we would be free to explore the galaxy?" asked Governor Catherine Bell from New Terra Colony. "Yes, Governor. In fact, the text suggests that transformed Guardians would be compelled to explore, to seek out and neutralize cosmic threats before they could harm other species." Dr. Carol Hayes suddenly looked up from her seismic monitors with alarm. "Everyone, the underground activity is spiking massively. Whatever is down there knows what we're trying to do." The seismic readings showed chaotic movement beneath all of Earth's major ocean basins. The ancient entities were no longer just stirring. They were actively trying to break free. "Commander," Ryan Foster's voice came through with urgency. "Command, the chamber is responding to the increased activity below. The control panels are activating on their own. I think the system is preparing to initiate the transformation automatically." Amanda read the new symbols appearing on the control panels. "Ryan, the system is detecting the prison's instability. It's offering us a choice. Accept the Guardian Awakening voluntarily, or it will begin the process to prevent total containment failure. President Adams consulted with the Emergency Council for 30 seconds, then made the most important decision in human history. Dr. Clark, initiate the Guardian Awakening. Humanity chooses to accept this burden willingly. Amanda transmitted the command to Ryan, who pressed the central activation control in the Nexus chamber. Immediately, similar chambers around the world began to activate. The Atlantic and Indian Ocean sites reported identical awakenings of ancient machinery. Lisa Brooks, monitoring global communications from the orbiting command ship, announced the next phase. Command, we need every human alive to consciously accept the transformation. The system is broadcasting a signal that will reach every person on Earth and in the colonies, but they must choose to accept it voluntarily. President Adams activated the emergency broadcast system. His voice reached every human settlement across the galaxy. Citizens of Earth and the colonies, this is your president. Today, humanity faces its greatest challenge and its greatest opportunity. We have learned that our species was designed to be guardians of cosmic peace. We can now choose to embrace this role fully, gaining the power to protect not just Earth, but the entire galaxy from ancient evils. He paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. In the next few minutes, each of you will feel a presence in your mind, the Guardian Awakening asking for your consent. If you choose to accept, you will become part of humanity's transformation into something greater. If you refuse, you will remain unchanged, but our species may not survive what comes next. Across the galaxy, on Earth and every human colony, people felt the gentle touch of the ancient system reaching into their consciousness. It didn't force or demand. It simply asked. The response was overwhelming. On Earth, in the colonies, aboard ships traveling between stars, humans chose to accept their cosmic responsibility. The acceptance rate was 97%, higher than any vote in human history. As the transformation began, Amanda felt the change flowing through her. Her senses expanded beyond anything she had ever experienced. She could feel the presence of every other human, connected in a network of shared purpose. She could sense the imprisoned entities far below, their ancient hunger now unable to touch human minds. But most importantly, she could feel threats across space, cosmic dangers that threatened other species, other worlds that needed protection. Captain Ben Cooper reported from orbit with wonder in his voice. Command, the alien fleets are withdrawing. I'm receiving a message from the Zephyrian ambassador. The alien voice came through clearly. Guardians of Earth, you have exceeded our greatest hopes. You have not merely accepted your role, you have transformed it into something beautiful. The galaxy is safer because of your choice. Dr. Carol Hayes announced the final confirmation. Seismic activity beneath Earth has stabilized completely. The prison is now stronger than it has been in millions of years. President Adams, feeling the transformation coursing through his own being, addressed humanity one final time. Today, we chose to become more than human. We chose to become guardians. Our children will explore the stars not as conquerors, but as protectors. We will seek out cosmic threats and neutralize them. We will stand guard not just over Earth, but over all life in the galaxy. Amanda looked up at the stars, feeling the pull of distant worlds that needed protection, sensing cosmic dangers that threatened innocent species light years away. Humanity had found their true purpose. They were no longer just the guards of an ancient prison. They had become the galaxy's immune system, seeking out and destroying threats before they could harm others. And for the first time in human history, they knew exactly why they existed.